Well, I thank you all for being here. Greetings from Switzerland, where the weather is actually pretty gray. I'm Marie-Pierre Meurville, and I'm the scientific coordinator of the EUMETNET AutoPollen program coordinated by MeteoSwiss. And I'll tell you who we are, what we have done so far, and what we are aiming to do in the future. So as Emma introduced you a little bit already, monitoring bioaerosols like pollens, spores, or bacteria, it's very useful since these particles play important roles across a number of domains. These measurements allow the study of climate change through changes in biogeography or biodiversity, but also through cloud physics and atmospheric chemistry, which are impacted by bioaerosols. They also strongly impact agriculture with a number of fungal spores, as Emma said already. And these fungal spores, many of them are being plant pathogens that can cause significant cross losses around the globe. Perhaps most well-known, bioaerosols can be a threat to human health, either through transmission of pathogenic bacteria or viruses, or with regards to allergies, particularly to pollen. So one of the challenges linked to monitoring bioaerosols lies in the fact that they cover an enormous size range from proteins, which are as small as 1 nanometer, all the way through to fungal spores and pollen, which can reach over 100 micrometers in size. A second challenge lies in the fact that concentrations of bioaerosols are very, very low compared to other aerosols, such as soot from combustion or dust particles. Here is an example of birch pollen for 2024 so far in Munich, in Germany, which shows a maximum value of about 1,200 particles per cube meter of air. So it's about 1 billion times lower than concentration for PM10 or PM2.5, which are typically measured for air quality purposes. So even if these bioaerosols are rather rare in the air, they impact the health of up to 30 to 40% of the European population, and it costs 50 to 150 billion euros per year. And so it increased in the last decade, and it's likely to keep increasing in the future. So how can we help reduce that cost and improve patients' life? One way is through the monitoring of bioallergens in the air. So that's the volumetric Hurst trap that Emma presented to you in a bit more details. So bioaerosols are monitored regularly across Europe since the 60s. In most European countries, it's done through this Hurst trap. It consists of the rotating drum that captures particles. And as Emma said, there is every week we collect the drum and it's sent to a laboratory where it's inspected under a microscope. Note that only a small portion of the pollen grains are usually identified and counted. And the Hurst traps also are quite manual, involving human intervention for the installation and collection of the drum each week, as well as the very time-consuming process of identifying and counting the pollen under the microscope. And so you have to understand that with this method, data are available with a delay of between 3 to 9 days, meaning that allergy sufferers do not have any direct information about the present pollen amounts or about the future, since these measurements cannot really be put into forecast models because they're too old. And so for this reason, there are new technologies that have been developed over the 5 to 10 years, and they have started to enable automatic monitoring of bioaerosols. And these measurements address some of the core weaknesses of the Hurst traps. So just as an illustration, this figure shows the number of scientific publications focusing on the automatic pollen monitoring, and it clearly reflects that quickly evolving technology and a growing field of research over the past 10 years or so. Okay, so there are several automatic devices that are currently available on the market to measure pollen and fungal spores. Emma presented one, the one on the bottom, but there are more. But they nearly all make use of artificial intelligence to identify bioaerosols. They are based on a wide range of measurement techniques, with some making use of impaction. So that's the collection of pollen on plates or in tapes, like in the Hearst trap. But then there is a combination with microscopic camera imaging, for example, that can do the identification directly and prevents human intervention. Other instruments use light scattering techniques, and yet other combine fluorescence and holograms. And so, yeah, in the slide, you can see several examples of the different types of the raw data obtained. And then these raw data are analyzed using AI algorithms. So one major difference from the Hearst traps is that automatic devices, they need less human intervention, and thus they significantly reduce any biases that stem from human error. However, because many of these instruments are so new, they still face several challenges. Notably, the number of bioaerosols that can be identified is considerably lower than what can be done manually, at least at the present. So in the future, we expect things to improve significantly, and we hope even to identify other particles that are typically not counted using Hearst traps, such as Saharan dust or possibly even microplastics. One key advantage of automatic devices is that they allow a much higher time resolution, up to hourly instead of daily. And perhaps most importantly, they provide data in real time or near real time. And this is a crucial advantage if patients can have access to these data, because it can help them adapt their behavior and medication intake. So on this graph, you see that averaging pollen concentration over one day, the gray bars, as is typically done for the Hearst traps, it's clearly not as informative as hourly averages with the red line that can be provided by automatic instruments. There are times in the day when pollen levels are much higher than daily averages, putting allergic patients at risk. So, EUMETNET, what do we do and who we are? EUMETNET is a grouping of 33 European national meteorological services. And EUMETNET understood the need to develop an automatic bioaerosol monitoring network across Europe. That's why they started supporting in 2018 the AutoPollen program, whose aim was to develop such a network. So the first phase of AutoPollen, which ran until the end of 2023, aimed to serve as proof of concept for European automatic pollen monitoring network using high temporal and real-time measurements. The idea was to explore all aspects of building such a network, from the measurements all the way to the end of the information. And so it means that basically at the end of the information chain, we are providing products and services to various end users. So we started the second phase in January this year. And for the next 5 years, we will extend, operationalize, and make this European real-time bioaerosol network most sustainable. Okay, so overall, AutoPollen manages and develops every step of the information chain. We test sites and devices. We develop solutions to manage data and to make sure these data are of good quality. We develop forecasts and climatologies based on real-time data. We develop products and services specific to different end users, and we study the impacts of automatic real-time bioaerosol monitoring. And all of this is done hand in hand with stakeholders in a collaborative efforts, and that's also super important to us. So when AutoPollen began in 2018, there were just a few test sites across Europe. And during the first phase, this changed dramatically. And there are now over 50 automatic devices all over the continent with a number of operational networks. This again shows how fast things are changing and the large interest in automatic bioaerosol monitoring. As a consequence, it is vital that we properly characterize and understand these new instruments and develop the infrastructure to share and use the large amount of data that they produce. In 2021, we ran the first ever international intercomparison of automatic bioaerosol monitors with 13 different instruments participating, some which were commercially available at the time and others which were research prototypes. Additionally, we had different algorithms which were tested on the same instrument to get an idea of how important the software part is in terms of particle identification. Of course, the intercomparison was carried out following WMO guidelines. So it was run by neutral operators with the reference manual measurements not being made available until after the data analysis was complete. So here I took the example of ash pollen. Each colored line here represents a combination of, represents the concentrations detected at a given time by a combination of device and algorithm. And the black line is the Hurst trap reference, the manual measurements. So there are clear differences in the performance of the different automatic systems, but we identified a number of them that compared very well with the manual measurements. Here again are some results from the campaign showing two metrics of comparison for all the automatic devices against the manual baseline for, on the left, the oak pollen, and on the right, the ash pollen. So basically, the higher the R-squared and the smaller the mean absolute error, the better the results. So the closer to the top left of the graph, the closer automatic devices results are from the manual measurements. So the main message remains that we see large differences between measurement systems, but there are a number of them that perform very well. And the advantage, of course, as I said earlier, and as Emma also highlighted, is that automatic measurements can provide data in real time and at higher temporal resolution. So this intercomparison highlighted the crucial role of the identification algorithms to recognize particles and revealed that several combinations of device and algorithms can be used in operational frameworks to provide real-time bioaerosol observations. And if you want to explore the results, you can find an interactive tool on our website. So that's the link in the title of the slide. It can be very useful to users of automatic devices because they can compare their measurement systems to the baseline measurements of the Hurst traps. The tool continues to be developed and any new measurement system can be added and comparisons can be made. Such intercomparisons are highly informative and they should be done regularly to evaluate new measurement techniques and instruments that come to market. And during the second phase of AutoPollen, we will carry out an algorithm intercomparison together with the Horizon Europe Silva project. The goal is the goal of this intercomparison will be to assess all new identification algorithms on various devices, also sometimes new devices. The algorithms will be tested against well-designed datasets, ensuring a fair comparison of results for locations across Europe, not just Central Europe, as was the case for the previous intercomparison. We hope this will push the development of identification algorithms further and ensure there are standardized ways to evaluate algorithms with reference datasets from across the continent. I will say a little bit more about the Silva project since it is tightly linked to the AutoPollen activities. So the project aims to test, to validate, and to improve the coverage of bioaerosol measurements, particularly in extreme environments, like in the hot and dusty Southern Europe, at high altitudes in the Alps, and in polar conditions in Northern Europe. So it incorporates various cutting-edge technologies such as LiDARs, automatic monitoring devices, and environmental DNA collection, all of which are used to identify bioaerosols. One of the key challenges faced by Silva is the management of huge amounts of data. So that's really an IT infrastructure project, and it can be used to store raw data from all instruments used in the project, making all data publicly accessible. And that has rarely been the case before. This infrastructure will be taken over by AutoPollen in 2027 when the Silva project comes to an end. Note that one goal of AutoPollen and Silva is also to make 11.1 data accessible, that is the hourly average concentration, which are submitted and stored in the EBES database hosted by NILU. It is these data which are the most useful to end users, and we are aiming to have data from as many sites as possible across Europe. That's one of our big challenges. Another activity of AutoPollen, and Emma illustrated this very well, is that we try to develop new algorithms to broaden the range of particles that we can identify by automatic devices, given the newness and of many of these instruments. The AutoPollen community continuously works to improve the accuracy and the flexibility of these algorithms to not only include pollen, but also spores, such as Alternaria, which are plant pathogens. Sorry. And to do this, to build these models, we have been creating training data sets for many new particle types, which can then be used across the community to develop identification algorithms. Future research will also focus on other non-biological particles, such as I said, large dust or microplastics that some instruments are likely able to measure. But it's still a work in progress. The first phase of AutoPollen has been launching a process to ensure the quality of monitoring sites and the data measured at these sites. So AutoPollen established criteria to evaluate the sites, similar to what is done for the WMO weather stations. This includes various additional aspects important to bioaerosol monitoring, such as the proximity to major particle sources, or the provision of vegetation maps around the site, etc. During the second phase, we will score sites that apply for certification, thus creating a network of AutoPollen verified sites across Europe. And additionally, we will produce we will select a number of sites which meet additional criteria, which will be established as reference sites where, for example, we can lead inter-comparison campaigns and where data is and will be available for long term. Together with the CEN and the EUMETNET project bioaerosol, we are also working towards developing a CEN standard for automatic monitoring of pollen and fungal spores. This will be critical to be able to certify bioaerosol monitoring instruments, potentially opening up the doors to ensuring there is a European-wide legislation to mandate the monitoring of pollen and fungal spores. And this currently doesn't exist, despite their importance for human health and contrast to air quality. One of the major advantages of real-time data, as I said earlier, is from automatic instrument, is that these data can be directly integrated into forecast models. This has been done for decades with weather observation, and it's one of the reasons that weather forecasts are so good today. A recent study carried out within the framework of AutoPollen showed that there is an improvement of up to 65% of the forecast compared to old forecasts that did not include real-time data. And recently, MeteoSwiss integrated automatic real-time data and forecast too, which allows to see pollen levels not only in the past hours or just in the future, but also, but there is now a continuity of the events with a recalculation with the forecast model of the past data. Having such information available about the coming days allows allergy sufferers to better plan outdoor activities, manage their medications, thus helping to improve their quality of their life during the pollen season. To go the last step, AutoPollen also focuses on assessing the impact of automatic bioaerosol monitoring on a range of fields. And this includes human health, of course, agriculture and climate change, and also research. And this is key, particularly to those who have not yet established AutoPollen monitoring networks, since it can help provide quantified grounds for why real-time information can improve various aspects, such as reducing costs. So we organize workshops with stakeholders to better understand their needs, but also to communicate about what we do, with the goal of proposing products and services that can directly be used by these communities. And one nice example for this is the collaboration with HAHA, the Swiss Allergy Center, which provides real-time data to allergy sufferers since 2023. They registered a dramatic increase of app downloads and website visits since then. This is a start, but we would like to establish more metrics and carry out more evaluations during this phase of AutoPollen of how automatic networks impacts stakeholders and end users. AutoPollen also organizes training schools and other materials, such as educational videos, to support the community with the development of new skills and tools. The photos here are from 2 training schools focused on using automatic devices and analysis of real-time data from them. The long-term goal of AutoPollen is to develop a sustainable real-time bioaerosol monitoring network, and to do so, we support people who want to acquire automatic devices, share knowledge, and help them to develop the skills and tools needed. So as you might have understood, knowledge sharing is also is very important to us, and we also achieve this through the publication of scientific articles. And recently, an AutoPollen special issue was published in the journal Aerobiology. We place strong emphasis on open access, and all articles are freely available. We also plan a series of papers for this phase, focused on the activities of this second phase, including the algorithm intercomparison that we're going to do, homogenization of manual and automatic time series, the site certification process, how it was done, how it's assessed, also how we ensure the quality of the how we produce the quality procedures for data. And we also plan a series on the impacts of automatic networks that automatic networks have on various fields. Okay, so yeah, this was a very condensed overview of the AutoPollen program. And I would like to provide a clear impression on how it is linked to many other projects, whether it touches research and development with the adopt cost action, the standardization with the CEN, or the forecasting with Copernicus CAMS, a wide diversity of national and regional projects all around Europe, also validation and calibration of the setups with the EUMETNET bioaerosol project, or the development of infrastructures with the Horizon Europe Silva project. In total, AutoPollen brings together more than 130 experts from 29 institutions in 24 countries. And I would warmly like to thank them for all their hard work and for the work to come. AutoPollen also collaborates with various institutions to ensure coordination of activities focused on bioaerosols across Europe. And this includes in terms of validation and standardization of methods, and for the development of European infrastructures. Also for collaborations with stakeholders, the development of training material, and the development of legislative framework. And finally, with partners that run national and regional networks to assess the impacts of our work and share products and services developed. Finally, I would like to thank you all for your attention. I would particularly like to thank Tanya for the organization of this amazing symposium. And I guess that Emma and I are ready to take your questions. Thank you.